And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the always pressing PGA DFS podcast. This week, previewing the FedEx St. Jude Classic, 1 week out to the U.S. Open. So lots to look forward to as we get going. In order to do so, joined by my two co-hosts, as always. You can find them on Twitter at BPSnow11. Bucks, how we doing, man?
Good to be back another week, Bubba. Glad to be back.
Yep, going to be a good one. And the third member of this group, you can find him on Twitter at DFS Golf Gods. Jesse, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good, dude. Glad to be here again. Getting pumped for the U.S. Open 1 week away.
Yeah, and you'll hear it a lot this week, and there's still qualifying going on as we record. So pay attention to your lineups because there's going to be a lot of withdrawals, a lot of goofy shit. And Jesse and I were kind of talking about it a little earlier. Jesse remembered the Dustin Johnson calling in the plane on 8 and leaving on 9 a couple of years back. So this is one of those tournaments that a lot can happen. So just be careful, but it's a pretty good field. Before we get to that, let's recap the Memorial real quick. Bryson DeChambeau takes down Kyle Stanley and Minion in the playoffs. Jesse, any thoughts on Bryson taking it down?
As far as him taking it down, I think it was probably overdue. He was trending towards a win for a while. But, you know, he kind of came from behind, and that was surprising Saturday into Sunday. And the field kind of turned upside down a little bit, and some of the big names didn't show up. But other than that, you know, I really had Bryson for a win, so glad he finally pulled it off.
Nice. Bucks, any thoughts on that playoff on Sunday?
Yeah, it was freaking awesome, man. I mean, all of those guys are guys that we've been on for a while, so it was awesome to see.
Literally been on.
Oh, Jesse's got jokes.
You know, I am so happy Bryson won, though, because this was the 1 week in like 3 months I haven't been on. And I would have murdered somebody if he won this week. Like for
Bucks, I literally texted Jesse when the playoff was happening. I said, "Oh no, if Binion wins this, Bucks is going to go ape shit. Like this is going to be a bad news bear situation."
Dude, It was brutal. But I mean, like it's insane though. DeChambeau on Cantlay, Stanley, Neiman. I mean, all of those guys are guys we've been on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and they all hit the same week.
Yeah,
crazy. It was awesome.
Yeah. A lot of good young golfers for sure. Let's talk about one of the older ones, Mr. Eldrick himself, Tiger Woods. He was like the best in the fields at, you know, strokes gained approach, strokes gained tee to green. He led the field all over the place, but he could not putt. And we've seen it a couple times this year. The putting lets him down. Plus, the driver was nasty. I don't know. I know you think you can hit it and do certain things, but when you're hitting your 3-wood 320-ish, I don't know why you're not just hitting your 3-wood on a course like that. But that's a story for another time. What were your overall thoughts on Tiger this week, Bucks?
Yeah, he smoked the field in just about every category, except for putting. Like this was one of those events reminiscent of 97, 2000 Tiger, where he should have won by 10, and he just didn't make anything. And not just that, he missed. I watched the majority of Saturday, Sunday. He must have missed 6 putts inside 5 feet. Like it was just insane. So it's really encouraging to see him playing this well because I believe that he'll figure out the putter. And when he does, he is going to win.
Yeah. What about you, Jesse?
Yeah, he lost almost 7.5 strokes on the green or more than 7.5, right around 7.5 shots. Anyways, that's pretty – I don't know. It's not like him because when in his prime he was – deadly with the putter. The short game is what won him a lot of tournaments, just being able to make putts. So I think it's encouraging that he hit the ball so well, and the putting will come. Just like we talk about every week, the putting is the hardest thing to predict week in and week out. And he's still knocking some rust off. So when it all comes together, he's liable to blow the field out. But one way or the other, I think he's going to be super popular next week.
Oh, yeah, extremely popular. No doubt about that. I think I was read or heard somewhere if he's just average to the field in his putting this week, he wins by 3 or 4 strokes. It was that big of a difference in how bad his game was. It was pretty crazy. But all in all, a really good week. We talked about how stacked the field was, and it did not disappoint. Before we get into the FedEx St. Jude Classic, Jesse, why don't you give us a little Cliff Notes version of your Captain Hindsight piece on fanshare.com this week?
Yeah, so one interesting thing was that all 6 of the top scorers were in the $7,000 range. So in order to have the perfect lineup, you had to leave $5,000 on the table and just take all 7. So that was pretty crazy. And then JT was 8th, and Rory was 9th. And JT being 20%. His little comeback on Sunday there, or well, actually Saturday and Sunday is kind of what brought him back into the mix there. But other than that, it's been pretty chalky, especially last week. 8. I think eight out of the top 10 scored 80+ points as far as the being top owned. So the chalk's been hitting, man. The chalk's been hitting, and we're overdue at this point, in my opinion, for a chalk slaughter.
Yeah, one of these days we will get it, but hopefully sooner than later. Jesse, as we get into the FedEx St. Jude Classic, why don't you give us a past event history on the St. Jude?
Yeah, so playing this down in Memphis, and the last 2 years, Daniel Berger has won this golf tournament. So last year he won it -10, one shot over Wee Kim and Charles Schwartzel. And then in 2016, 13 under, 3 shots over Brooks, Koepka, Phil, and Stricker. Other previous winners, Fabian Gomez, Ben Crane, Harris English, Dustin Johnson. Winning score around here is usually between basically 10 and 13 under.
Very, very nice. Bucks, what do you got for a course preview this week?
Yeah, so this is TPC Southwind, obviously the FedEx St. Jude, 7,200 yards, par 70 golf course. It was designed by Ron Pritchard, Fuzzy Zeller, Hubert Green. And basically when they designed it in the late 80s, they really wanted to test players' ability by creating different styles or utilizing different styles of golf course. And so when you look at this golf course, you will see fescue like you would see on a link style. You'll see a lot of tree line courses. You'll see a lot of water and bunkering and false fronts and dog legs. I mean, they really cover the gambit when you consider different playing styles. And so they did a really good job. As far as the course goes, you have 2 par 5s this week. Both are very reachable, and both have a birdie or better rate of over 40%. The interesting thing about this golf course is 7,200 yards, which is not long. But because those par 5s are so short, they're made up on the par 4s. And so of the 12 par 4s, 8 of them play between 450 and 500 yards, which is long. And so between those par 4s, you have 3 par 3s that are between 175 and 200. So between the par 4s and those par 3s, you have upwards of 11 shots around that you're going to have an approach between 175 and 200 yards, or at least 150 to 200 yards for the longer guys. And then the last par 3 is number 14. It's 240 yards with water coming into play. Just a monstrous par 5 or par 4. Par 3, I got there.
Nice.
It's just a difficult golf course in general. 13 under, 12 under is the average winning score. And so for a par 70, 7,200 yards, the course does have teeth, and it comes in the form of the par 4s.
Yeah, and I've also heard with this course, tons of water, by far loses more balls this tournament than any other tournament on tour. So I imagine accuracy will be important here, and the approach, as you were talking about, will be a couple stats we might want to be looking at. I have not looked. I assume, Bucks, you usually put it a part of your early week article. What's the early outlook on the weather this week?
Yeah, so this week it's going to be hot, like mid-90s hot. Virtually no wind the first 3 days. And so perfect conditions. As long as the course doesn't get too dry or burnt out, you should have some really good scoring conditions. People are going to be murdering the ball this week in that heat. And so you'll see some long drives. Then Sunday, there's a chance of thunderstorms, chance of rain. But again, nothing crazy. So all in all, good week. No real weather concerns pre-cut.
Nice, not too bad. That always is nice because after it's cut, you don't have a choice of where your guy plays, so it works out perfectly. Jesse, what are some of the key stats you're looking for this week?
Yeah, so a lot of what I'm looking at this week is the tee to green. It's got a really good correlation here, shots gained tee to green. So for me, greens in regulation, accuracy, driving distance, and then bogey avoidance, just because the scores don't tend to be very low here. So guys who are making pars and or birdie are going to be preferable, obviously.
I like it. What about you, Bucks?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me this week you have, like Jesse mentioned, the par fours are going to be key. For me, it's just tee to green work, DK points, par four scoring. But I'm not getting too caught up in proximity or driving accuracy, just overall, just solid overall game tee to green.
No, I like it. A little quick recap of some past fan share info here. Your top scorers in this field, top 10, or we'll say 9 because Bo Hostler is already withdrawn for the last 3 events. Henrik Stenson, Dustin Johnson, Tony Finau, Luke List, Adam Scott, who just qualified for the Open. So one thing we already kind of mentioned is be wary of guys dropping out like flies. But Phil Mickelson, Brooks Koepka, Daniel Berger, and Keith Mitchell, a lot of names you'd expect to see there. If you go as far as the last 6 events for this field, then DJ's 1, Phil 2, Luke List, Stenson, Finau. Chappell, though, is one new name that pops onto that list. Scott Berger, Koepka, and Keegan Bradley is 10th as well. And then if you look at the event last year, for guys that are in this field, not overall last year, but players in this field at the FedEx last year, Mickelson was your top DraftKings scorer. You had our top tagged, Uline second tagged, Koepka 3, Berger, Scott, Sink, Chappie, Horschel, Lee, and Gay. So Phil was the only one. Phil and Berger were the only ones that really got you there, but Chappie played well also. So a couple things to think about there, guys coming in current form and past history at this course. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of it all. Let's get into the DraftKings picks, the 10K and above range. We got about 5 guys to look at here. Dustin Johnson at 11.7, Koepka at 11.1, Phil Mickelson at 10.6, Stenson at 10.4, Daniel Berger at 10,000. Bucks, kick us off in the 10K and above.
Yeah, for me, there are a few options up here I really like, but DJ, to me, is the clear favorite here. I love DJ this week. He, not only because he's DJ, but because I think he has something to prove. The only thing I don't like is his price, obviously, but I think he will be low owned because of the price, and you'll have to get weird down low. But outside of DJ, I do like Koepka this week. I'm not sure I can go Koepka when I can go $600 more and go to DJ, though.
Fair enough. Jesse, what do you like in this 10K and above?
Yeah, the only thing about DJ and Brooks both that scares me, like Brooks has the injury, obviously. We talked about it a couple weeks ago when he played well, and he's been, getting that wrist deal, still snapping it out of place or whatever. So that just freaks me out a little bit. DJ, will he mail it in? I do like your point, Bucks. I mean, he does have something to prove because he's not been – by DJ standards, he's not been playing well. I mean, he's still playing pretty good by PGA standards, 8th, 17th, 16th, 10th, 7th in his last 5, so all top 20s. Pretty good for an average player. Of course, he's not an average player. I love Phil Mickelson this week up top here. 9th, 2nd, 3rd, 11th, 2nd since 2013, and obviously he's playing a lot better this year than he even has in those last few years when he still top 10. So I like the discount, getting $1,000 off there from DJ, and but I do agree with what you just said there about DJ. He's got something to prove, and he probably should be low owned because most people are going to be thinking, I'm not playing him because he's got that withdrawal or mail it in deal. So it'll be interesting. I think I'll be more balanced when it's all said and done. These guys up top are very interesting, obviously.
Yep, I agree with everything you guys said there. I always start with Phil Mickelson at 10-6, and Jesse hit it on the head. He's played amazing at this course, and overall has played really, really well. Even a T13 last week looked really, really good out there. The other one, you got Berger, defending champion, but Stenson, if you like the way he played last week and the way he's played in the last month or so, and you mentioned Bucks, the approach in and everything, it lines up for his 3-wood again. So it definitely suits his game. But if I'm going up top, which we talk about week in, week out, I usually don't, I would be picking Phil Mickelson. Let's go into the $9,000 range. You got Billy Ho, Adam Scott, Schwartzel, Finau, Binion, and Keegan Bradley. Jesse, kick us off in the $9,000 range.
Yeah, the thing about Adam Scott is I think I don't know. I would think he would withdraw because he's played, I think, 4 weeks.
He's been grinding hard.
Yeah, so he played Memorial, he played Fort Worth, he played Byron Nelson, he played the Players, he played Wells Fargo. I just don't see him, since he's qualified, playing this week. If he is, I like that price on him. He's playing pretty well. But assuming he's not, I would, dip down to, I think, a couple different guys here. I think Charles Schwartzel's interesting. Played him a lot last week, and he just absolutely burnt me with a 77 on Thursday, and everybody else who played him as well. So this could be a good bounce back spot at potentially low ownership there. Finau's always in play. Ben on, obviously, but I think Ben's ownership will be kind of bumped up. Keegan Bradley's interesting to me. He hit almost 80% of his greens in regulation last week. Obviously, putter's still wonky a little bit, but 85% of the fairways too. So he's striking it well. Finished 23rd. He's interesting here because he's sandwiched in between 2 guys who are probably going to be popular. One being Ben on, the other being Neiman, who we'll talk about in the next tier.
Yeah, I like that a lot. What about you, Bucks?
Yeah, for me, there are quite a few guys here that I do like. I think if I had to start somewhere, and I agree with you, Jesse, about Scott. If I had to start somewhere, I would like to play him, but I don't think I'll have the opportunity.
I think he'll withdraw probably tomorrow, I bet.
Yeah, I think so too. That being said, obviously I'm going to be back on this week. He'll probably miss the cut or something. But outside of him, Tony Finau is interesting to me. I think he's a really solid ball striker, hits a ton of greens, solid proximity, but he just scores a lot of DK points. And so I do like Tony Finau this week.
No, I like that as well. The DK points especially came off a nice T13 last week. So I like Tony quite a bit with you there. Keegan Bradley, I do like. I'm curious to see how he finishes up in his qualifying on Monday. I haven't seen the final results for him yet. He could be another one of those that's played a lot this year that I wouldn't be shocked if he kind of stepped to the side, but we'll see how that goes because he's been playing really, really well. And then the other one is I do like the Charles Schwartzel angle. He's coming in, he's either a miscut or he's kicked butt here. He's coming off a T2 here last year. That miscut, he played horrible, like the worst golf I could picture on Thursday, finding the water everywhere. And then Friday played really, really well. And I want to tell myself he would have made a run at not winning it, but a really good Saturday and Sunday if he made the cut. So Schwartzel at 9,400, I think you'll get it super low ownership. He was even low last week. So I think he's definitely a guy you can go back to in this 9K range. But Schwartzel, Finau, Bradley will be the ones I'll be targeting here. Going into the 8K range, got about 10 guys to choose from here. Real quick, you're going to hear his name a lot, and it makes a lot of sense, but Peter Uihlein at $8,500 is playing extremely good golf and fits this course very, very well, so I don't mind him at that price tag. But if you want to go $100 cheaper, Jesse's boy, Mr. Affy Barnrat, is a very nice play here at $8,400, assuming everything lines up for him and playing. The other guy I'll look at in this range, Luke List at $8,300. He's coming in great form for the most part this year. He's miscut or he's crushing it, but these are the Bermuda courses that he absolutely loves. So I could see List at 8,300. And then Chris Kirk at 8K seems a little cheap for the kind of golf he's been playing of late. Could be a nice cash game play or a balanced lineup GPP play. But I really like Luke List in this range with Uline and Appy Barn Rat. Bucks, what do you like in the 8K range?
Yeah, this is a really solid range. I mean, I like it bothers me that Neiman did not play well today in the qualifier for the sectional, but I do like Joaquin Neiman in a weak field to continue his run. Charles Howell III has been playing really well, crushes par fours from 450 to 500 yards, so I love him this week. Luke List, I'm glad you mentioned him. I really like Luke List as well. And then the last guy that I really like in this range, I've been on him for a few weeks now. He did not pan out great last week, is Chris Kirk. But I do like him again. He is top 10 in proximity, tee to green, bogey avoidance, top 15 in DK points. So I'm all over Chris Kirk again this week.
I like that quite a bit. Jesse, what are you liking in the 8K range?
I'm leaning towards Stricker here, but I was thinking that he's already qualified for the U.S. Open today. He played 36 holes today, so I think he qualified earlier today.
He did. He qualified.
Yeah, so that kind of he might be another one who doesn't. He might play this week. I don't know. Every time I play him, he misses the cut though. So.
Let's just say last year when he had to play 36 holes and qualified, he didn't play here.
Yeah, so I could see him withdrawing. He did finish second here in 2016, so and he's playing really well. He made a bunch of birdies today from what I saw on Twitter. You stole the rest of mine. Kierdex, obviously, I'm all in on him 100% this week. Luke List and Kirk are two other good plays. Did you guys, speaking of Kierdex, did you guys see or watch the Women's U.S. Open?
Nope.
Wasn't that like a relative of his or something?
I don't know if it was a relative, but she's from Thailand.
She torched that course.
Well, she did for a while, but then collapsed, and then there was a playoff, 2-hole aggregate. They tied, went to 4 holes, and she won it on the 4th playoff hole. It was really, really fun to watch. Let me also mention that Fox did a hell of a job on the coverage. There were 0 commercials. I watched the last probably 4 hours of it. Not a commercial.
What?
I want to ask you real quick, Jesse. You watched 4 hours straight of LPGA golf?
It was Women's U.S. Open, Bubba.
I know.
Yes.
Answer the question.
U.S. Open. It's calm. What was that? Well, that's supposed to watch. Stupid PGA Tour had a weather delay for no weather. Or weather.
4 straight hours of golf with no commercials sounds amazing.
Yeah. I mean,
it does sound amazing.
Didn't she have a 7-shot lead going into the back 9?
I turned it off. I didn't even finish watching it.
It was rough. She had a rough back 9. The girl that ended up in a playoff went bogey free and shot like 5 or 6 under that day. So that's how she caught her. But yeah, she was 7 shots clear. Kind of a collapse, but that's totally off topic. But either way, my angle on Kierdeck as he watches that, gets excited for it, and goes on and wins the U.S. Open.
Hey, I like it. Calling your shot a week early. I like it a lot. Let's dip into that 7K range, loaded field, as always, like we do every single week. Jesse, tell us some of the guys you like in the 7K range.
Yeah, there's a lot of obvious names. I think Kevin Tway will probably be semi-chalky, but he's at 7,800. He's been striping it. He did make the cut here last year. One of my favorite plays is Putnam at 7,700. I think he'll go a little bit more under the radar versus Tway, so I like him as kind of a pivot off of Tway. Corey Connors is another interesting guy. Sam Ryder at 7,400. And then dipping down kind of closer to the 7,000 range. JT Poston is interesting to me. He did miss the cut here last year, but he's been playing better as of late. So I'm not sure how much of the lower guys I'll have this week. I'll probably, like I said, try to go more balanced. So I really like Putnam this week.
No, I don't mind that at all. What about you, Bucks?
Yeah, there's quite a few guys down here that I like. My 2 favorite plays here are right on top of each other. Kevin Chappell, he has been playing horrendous golf. Horrendous. But he's still top 60 in the world. He does like this golf course. And so I don't think you're ever going to get Kevin Chappell for $7,800 again. So I like Kevin Chappell here. Braden Thornberry, $7,700. Loves this place. Played well today in sectionals. I do like him to contend again. He came, top 5 last year. Outside of them, I think there's a few guys that have opportunities to play well here. But Tom Hoge is one that I do like. Austin Cook's another one. James Hahn is a guy that I'm always on. And then Joel Dahman, I like.
I like it. I'm with you. I like Jesse. I like the Kevin Tway call, but Putnam at $7,700. I think it's a nice pivot. I was on him 2 weeks ago when he got that T20, and I think he's in a really good spot here again. Lucas Glover at 76. He's one of those grinders that can put up a big number if you need him to. I don't know if you guys listen to No Lane Up Pod, but he was on there last week, and he had some really, really good stuff he had going on there, and not about his personal life, which isn't our business. But Ches Reavie at 76 is another one I think could be really interesting because he's not on that run he was on earlier this year, but kind of a course where he can dink and dunk around there. He could be really, really good in this $7,600 range. So I don't mind him either. Ben Crane, Jesse, that's a guy you've been on. He's been playing great golf, like really, really good golf. And he's played really, really good at this course. 11 of 12 made cuts, 3 top 10s, and a victory, past champion at 7,400. There's Keith Mitchell, Vaughn Taylor, Ben Silverman are both kind of cheaper guys. I don't mind taking darts at, but it's a good range. That's why I like going balanced here. You can really go in the 8K range, pick a 9, and then pick some 7s. And I'd be very confident in some of these lineups here, assuming they don't withdraw. But some interesting looks indeed. Let's drop into the 6K range. Bucks, who do you like down here if you had to play some?
If I had to play somebody down here, there's a couple guys that I like. We've talked about them, or I've talked about them before, but Denny McCarthy's one. Taylor Gooch is another guy that I like. And then getting down lower, Sam Saunders is $6,800, and I do like him this week as well.
Nice. What about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I think there's a few names down here. I think Answer at 6,900 is quite underpriced. He finished 18th here in 2016. He was leading for a little bit last week, kind of fell off the radar there with a 75, 73, 73 after an opening 65. So he's interesting to me, especially at this price. Matt Jones, another guy who's trending a little bit better lately, the Australian there. And then also Stewie Sink at 6,800. Last year I was looking back at what I wrote up for the Sports Degens, and he was 8,000 and I played him. So why would I not play him at 68? Obviously the recent form is not good, but he did top 10 here last year. So that's interesting. Hunter Mahan's another guy at 6,800. Missed the cut here last year, but stats are lining up a little bit better this year, and he's playing better golf, so he's interesting. I don't know how much of him would actually play. And then Schindler at 6,800 as well. Never played here, but coming off 32nd in Fort Worth, so another interesting guy. But like I said, I'll probably be very balanced this week, so getting down here, I don't know.
Yeah, you mentioned the answer. Johnny Huh at $6,900 is a guy I don't mind going down here if you need someone. I do like Stuart Sink quite a bit, and then Stewart at 6,700, another guy I wouldn't mind looking at. But with you guys, I'd rather not go down here if we don't need to. All right, that wraps up the DraftKings pricing. Let's get a little more in depth here with some punt plays. Bucks, who you liking in your punt department?
Gooch is one. I mean, if you got real far down low here, AJ McInerney is another one, but honestly, I'm not going to go too far down here this week.
Yeah, I feel you. What about you, Jesse?
The answer is the lone punt, really, that I would have any faith in down here, besides Poston, but he's 7,000. So, I mean, right around that same area, 69, 7,000. If you're down there, those would be my two guys.
Yeah, I'll be looking at Johnny Huh and then Stuart Sink. If I have to take just one, Sink would be my guy down here that just get me through the cut, and I'll go from there. Bucks, who are your busts this week?
I have a few busts this week. One is going to be Charles Schwartzel.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Not very nice.
Buddy. I'm sorry, man. I mean, he just shows up like 60th in my model. But Daniel Berger's the other one. I think at that price, I need him to come top 10, and I just don't think he does it.
What about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I agree with the Berger call. He's like obviously two-time winner here. It's hard for me not to believe he won't get a lot of buzz this week and therefore be, 20% owned, but he's just not had it as far as here recently. He's been making cuts, but for 10,000, you need a top 10 or top 5 really to pay that off. And so, yeah. And then Billy Horschel, I mean, I get like why he's at 9,700. He's got like 4 straight top 10s here, but man, paying 9,700 for Billy Horschel.
It's tough.
Yeah.
My main one that I'll be looking at is actually Billy Ho. Now that I looked at my list here, Billy Ho at that price tag, like you guys said, he's been playing well. He plays really well at this course, but $9,700 that well, it's not as I'm not as confident in that. So Billy Ho, and I do like the Daniel Berger call. He's been playing well. We liked him earlier this year. He's 2 for 2. He's back-to-back champion here. But the three-peat, he's not really coming into form the way you'd like a guy at that price tag to be playing. Let's look at your core this week, Bucks. Who you got?
For my core this week, and I think I'm going to have to change it up starting tomorrow, but I did like Adam Scott, Braden Thornbury, Kevin Chappell. Those were going to be my core. I think I'm going to have to switch it up from Scott to On and Joaquin Niemann.
What about you, Jesse?
Can you roster Kiradech Abby Barnhart 6 times?
Are you talking about your bus?
Oh man.
Kiradech, List, and Putnam.
Nice. Mine right now is Uline, List, and Reavy, but if Uline is as chalky as I think he's going to be, that's a quick pivot to Appy Barnrat with List and Reavy, and that's where I'll be kind of starting things out for sure. Who's your winner this week, Bucks?
I mean, DJ is my clear favorite. If I went somebody other than DJ, I'm going to go with Mr. Thornberry, winning as an AM.
Interesting. I like it. This is a field that before Jesse gets his pick, let me read you a thing I saw on the Twitter bot today. At the Fantasy Grind, Jeff tweeted this out. The previous 7 winners of this event have not finished higher than 9th in any of their previous 2 starts before their respective victory here. Of the previous 7 winners, only 2, Ben Crane and Daniel Berger last year, had played the FedEx St. Jude the year prior and made the cut. So some interesting stats there. It's kind of long-shotty things. Jesse, who do you like this week?
Andrew Putnam's your winner.
Ooh, I like it. I'm going Luke List. I think Luke List finally gets there. We've talked about how he's getting close. I'm going Lukey List. It's like that's the first week in a while none of you guys took my damn pick. That's impressive. That's pretty good. Too bad I can't use them in one and done because I already did that, so I'll have to dig deeper for that one. But we shall see. But, gentlemen, this time next week we'll be talking U.S. Open, so it'll be a lot of fun. Any final thoughts for this week, Bucks?
Final thoughts. I know Jesse mentioned it earlier, but keep an eye on the WDs and don't be afraid to get a little weird this week because it is a weaker field and you're going to see players pack it in, especially if they're in the U.S. Open.
What about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a good week to scale back a little bit on the bankroll. If you're wanting to play a bunch next week and lose it all then, that's a much better place to lose it, in my opinion. But also, Yahoo has fantasy golf now on their DFS site. Scoring is a little bit weird, but it's there. And so check it out, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. But it's good to see they're kind of still trying to grind it out and keep this DFS thing going over there. We'll see how it works, though. But with that being said, check us out on Twitter at AlwaysPressDFS. Bucks is at BPSnar11. Jesse at DFS Golf Gods. Check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, YouTube. Give it a rate and review. Do all the good stuff there. And we'll catch you guys next week because this was the Always Pressing PGA DFS St. Jude Classic preview.